Hello, my name is Jessica Brandt. I'm one of the career specialists at the Office of Career Development and Calling here at Bethel. This presentation will be about how to build your resume. Your resume is your ticket into an interview. It is the face of who you are before you are actually able to show your face in an interview. If you were to just turn in your resume for a job application, an internship, or a grad school application, you're likely to get that 3 to 4% of the time. You increase your chances of admittance or getting that job or internship if you personalize your application materials, such as your resume and your cover letter. You increase those chances even further if you have a networking connection at that company or at that school. Now, even if you have a networking connection, you still need to have a resume. So, this is why you need to personalize your resume to make sure that you are presenting your best self, matching it to that specific job or that specific school. The type of resume we will cover today is the chronological resume. There are other types of resumes, and you can go ahead and look online for what those are and how they are structured. The order for a chronological resume is from the most present and relevant experience at the top, and then working your way down to your past. The margin should stay between 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches around all sides. This will change a little bit depending on if you are using a template. A few templates that you can check out are ones on canva.com, on Microsoft Word, or on Google Docs. And of course, you can look on Google and just Google free resume templates. The font size should stay between 10 to 12, and it should be a font that is legible, clear, readable for everyone, and also for the computer systems that will look over your resume before an actual human does. You also want to make sure that your sections are clearly defined. It is research that readers will look at a resume for an average of 6 seconds. So it's really important that you bold your sections so that they are clearly defined so the reader can jump to the exact section that they want to read about. For an undergraduate resume, you want to stick to around 1 page. Now, unless you have very extensive and related experience to whatever you are applying for, then you can go into that 2 pages. But again, if we're staying in that 6-second range, we want to stick to 1 page. So making sure everything is very concise. We will now go into the different sections that are a part of your resume. So the first section is your contact information. The first thing we want to read is your first and last name. You can include your middle name, especially if that is what you go by, or your middle initial. It's a personal preference. So as you can see, Sam Sample has capitalized, bolded, and centered his name. And beneath that is the contact information. For your address, you can just stick with your city and state. A lot of the applications that you will fill out will ask you for your full address. And just for confidentiality, we want to just have your city and state, and that should suffice. You will then put your cell phone number and then an email address. You can put your Bethel email address, but a lot of times it has a lot of numbers. So I suggest either putting your personal email address or even creating a new email address that has some combination of your first and last name. And then that email can be used for your jobs, internships, or grad school applications so you know when to check that email. Another thing I would suggest putting here is your LinkedIn account. If you do not have a LinkedIn account, now is the time to create one. and then you will put your URL in this section as well. For those that have majors that have an online portfolio you would like to showcase, that is where you can put the URL as well. Section 2 of your resume goes just beneath your contact information, and this includes your summary of qualifications. I have two different examples listed below: a skills and qualifications bullet list, a personal profile, which is in sentence structure, and another one that is not listed here is the objective, which would also be in sentence structure. For bullet points, we want to keep it down to 3 to 4 bullet points. And for the sentence structure, no more than 3 sentences long. Regardless of what heading you choose, you will want to highlight your direct skills and abilities that match whatever it is you are applying for. You also want to quantify where you were able to, so saying how many students you worked with or what size team you were in, any age group or amount of years. All of those things will add depth to your experience. Section 3 is your education. And this is where you highlight your degree and your major or minor. So the example, you want to put what university you are receiving or have received that degree, and putting the bachelor's or master's, whatever it is that you have studied, and then when you are expected to earn that degree. You can highlight your GPA here as long as it is above a 3.0. Optional things that you can put here are any honors. So if you graduated summa cum laude or something like that, you can highlight this here. For transfer students, you will include any other institutions that you attended, and that will go in chronological order. You do not need to include anything from high school if it is more than 2 years out, because since you are in college, it is assumed that you received your high school degree. Section 4 is your experience, and this typically pertains to your work experience. You can also include any practicums or internships that you took part in as well. Looking at the example, what is highlighted is the title. We want that to stand out the most, and then we want to make sure we are including the school or the company that we worked for, and then the start and end dates. As you can see, the last example is a math tutor. That was a seasonal job, so you can see how seasonal is written out for the start and end dates. We want to stick to around 3 to 5 bullet points per experience, starting each bullet point with an action word. If you are having trouble coming up with different action words, you can always go to an online thesaurus to look up synonyms. You also want to make sure that you are using present tense for places you are currently working and past tense for places that you have worked at in the past. This is where you also want to quantify wherever you are able to add more detail to your experience. The last section is section 5, and that is your activities. You can see here we have 2 different examples of how you can list these out. The first one is a basic list of your activities, making sure, again, we are bolding the title of whatever it is that you did. So either student leader or a member, volunteer, and then stating where that involvement was and the dates that you were involved. Another thing you can include is the amount of hours specifically for volunteer work. The second example includes how you can highlight your study abroad experience a little bit further. This is what our sample resume looks like with all the different sections together. This specific resume was created using canva.com. Again, you can play around with different resume templates, making sure that it is clear, clean, and professional. Keep in mind that the reader will likely read through this resume for about 6 seconds. So Sam's sample here has clearly defined section headings so that the reader can jump to whatever section is most important to them. Thank you for listening to this presentation on how to build a general resume. If you have any questions or would like us to review your resume, or maybe other questions about career development and calling, please schedule a meeting with one of our career specialists in our office. We are doing virtual meetings that you can schedule through Handshake. If you do not have a Handshake account, you can set one up by going to bethel.joinhandshake.com by using your Bethel login information. Thank you.